My name is Michael. I'm a 30-year-old single man. Currently, I work for a certain online media outlet where I write various articles as a journalist. By the way, our company is celebrating its 10th anniversary, and at present, we have 12 writers, including me. I've been with this company for almost a year now. Before that, I was a freelance writer for a large corporation. However, a year ago, I decided to leave my corporate job and join this online media company. Looking back, I genuinely believe that move was a turning point in my life. At that time, my decision even led to my then girlfriend breaking up with me. According to my ex-girlfriend, she couldn't believe I would leave a stable job at the large corporation to chase my dream. Given that I had been considering marrying her, I sometimes doubted my decision back then. However, now I'm confident that I made the right choice. Although my income is now roughly half of what I made at my previous job, I find much more satisfaction in my work as a full-time journalist here. During my first year, I mainly wrote anonymous commissioned articles, which served as both learning and training. In my current job at the online media outlet, once your skill is recognized, you can have your own column with your name on it, but before that, you need to build your credentials. Thanks to one of our executives, Susan, I was able to steadily build those credentials. Michael, good job today. We've received a request from a travel agency. Can you handle it? With those words, Susan handed me the materials from the travel agency. When she approached, I could faintly smell the scent of soap from her, which made my heart race a bit. I have a sensitive nose, and I'm not a fan of strong perfumes, so I really like the natural scent emanating from Susan. Yes, in fact, I've always admired her. So naturally, whenever I'm around her, I get extra enthusiastic. Of course, I'll start writing immediately, I replied, and immediately began typing away on my computer. Susan is 33, 3 years older than me, and she was involved in the startup of our company. From what I've heard, our female CEO was Susan's senior in college. The CEO had recognized Susan's exceptional computer skills and scouted her to be an executive when establishing the online media. The CEO's intuition was spot on, as, in its 10th year, our online media now has over 1 million readers and is popular among internet users. Nowadays, we get regular requests from major corporations, and the company's prospects look brighter than ever. When I first joined the company, I was feeling down after my breakup, but upon meeting Susan, I was immediately captivated by her charm. Susan boasts a model-like figure and is a sophisticated beauty. With her small face, smooth fair skin, and short black hair, she stood out in the office, especially with her vibrant makeup. Moreover, she is an extremely capable woman. She found suitable tasks for our company from the vast information online and consistently secured contracts for us. I also believe that my commissioned articles were recognized because she assigned jobs that suited me. In fact, all the writers in the company often say that it's because of Susan's leadership that we can work efficiently and effectively. Thanks to her sense of design and computer skills, our online media has such a user-friendly and attractive design, which has garnered so many fans. I truly respect Susan and can't help but admire her as an amazing woman. But realistically speaking, there's no way a regular employee like me could be a suitable match for an executive like her. If I were to show even a hint of interest, it would create an awkward atmosphere, making it difficult for me to continue working there. Susan herself is known to always maintain a professional demeanor without showing any vulnerabilities. In the office, she rarely talks about her private life. Even if there's a get-together, she doesn't drink and never joins for the after-party. Rumor has it that a few years ago, a male colleague stalked her. Even though she showed clear signs of disinterest, the guy was so persistent. His behavior escalated to the point where the company couldn't ignore it any longer, leading to his dismissal. Since he was an excellent worker, Susan apparently felt responsible for the outcome. After that incident, she has been very cautious in her interactions with male colleagues. Approaching her aggressively would only cause significant inconvenience. That's why I've always wanted to maintain our professional relationship of boss and subordinate. She's out of my league, always out of reach. But I always comforted myself by saying that just being by her side was enough. However, one day, my relationship with Susan began to change drastically. Suddenly, I was called into the CEO's office. Wondering what was going on, I headed to his office with a racing heart. The CEO greeted me with a big smile. "Michael, it's almost been a year since you became our exclusive writer. You've improved a lot, and I think it's time for you to have your own column. Both Susan and I have high expectations for you." I was ecstatic hearing the CEO's words. I had always wanted to make a name for myself, and now the chance had finally come. Without hesitation, I accepted the CEO's offer, and soon after, I met with Susan in a conference room to discuss the new column. Seeing her face to face made me nervous, but Susan was calm, as usual. "Congratulations on the new column, Michael. I have high expectations for you." "Thank you. I'll do my best to meet your expectations." We then discussed the format and content of the column in detail. Given my love for traveling, we decided that I would write a weekly travel essay. When I mentioned I wanted to use my pen name Emerald Wanderer, Susan's attitude suddenly changed. Emerald Wanderer, you're using that pen name." It wasn't like Susan, who was usually unflappable, to be so surprised. "What's going on?" Only knowing her usual cool demeanor, I felt a jarring contrast seeing her wide-eyed expression and slowly opened my mouth. "Jess, that's the name I want to use. Is there a problem?" Susan quickly shook her head. "No, not at all. It's just a lovely name. Emeralds are precious gems, and Wanderer is like a traveler, right? It's a wonderful pen name. I'm looking forward to your articles, Michael." Upon saying that, Susan left the conference room with a spring in her steps, wearing a bright and genuine smile. It was quite surprising to see Susan, who usually only gives a courteous grin, show such a warm and genuine smile. I returned to my office in a daze. I wasn't the only one surprised by Susan's behavior. My colleagues were also talking about it, saying things like I've never seen Susan in such a good mood before. I love Susan's usual cool demeanor, but seeing her smile like that truly warms my heart. For her sake, I'm gonna put my all into writing great articles. With a strong resolve, I dedicated myself entirely to the series from that day. Susan's instincts were spot on, and my column was well received by the readers. Furthermore, Susan herself praised my articles, which sent me over the moon. "Reading your articles makes me feel like I'm actually on a trip. You're very good at describing scenery. I'm seeing you in a whole new light." "Thank you, I'm honored to hear that." While I've had experience getting praised for my work in the past, there's a special kind of joy being directly appreciated for my own original articles rather than contracted work. Ever since I was given the column, I've been able to engage in more personal conversations with Susan and enjoy my days even more, but that doesn't mean we've become closer outside of work. At the end of the day, Susan values me only for my work. If I misread that and try to force a personal bond, she'd probably be put off for sure. Considering our small company size, I knew I had to tread carefully. Days passed with my feelings for Susan growing, but my inability to express them gnawed at me. Then, a turning point came my way. Out of the blue, my mother brought up the topic of matchmaking date. Apparently, my date was 2 years younger than me, and it was one of our relatives who had suggested the match. When I heard this, images of Susan immediately flashed through my mind, but she wasn't my girlfriend or anything. Maybe I should give up on a relationship that seemed to have no future and explore this new opportunity. Wanting to get advice, I decided to confide in a close colleague. After work, I invited him to a bar, and as we enjoyed our drinks, I told him about the matchmaking date idea, and he listened with great interest. You know, Susan always seems so focused on work and doesn't appear to be interested in relationships, and she's a top executive. We're in different leagues. If things didn't work out, it might make things awkward for you at the company. Maybe it's a good idea to consider this matchmaking date thing. Sitting across a table from him, I nodded occasionally while maintaining eye contact. Suddenly, his face turned white as a sheet. What's the matter? I wondered. When I turned around, I saw Susan, seemingly on her way out of the restaurant. Had she overheard our conversation? I saw her walking with her head down, looking uncomfortable, which made me freeze on the spot. Just my luck. Running into her at a bar and, to make matters worse, having her overhear my true feelings about her. Talk about bad luck. After that incident, neither my colleague nor I felt like drinking much, and we decided to call it a night early. My colleague tried to comfort me, saying, "Don't sweat it," but I couldn't shake off my gloom. I thought we have gotten closer, but how should I face her at work now? Nevertheless, I couldn't skip work, so with a heavy heart, I headed to the office the next day. Sure enough, Susan was acting differently, deep in thought when she entered the conference room. She was probably wondering how to interact with me. However, we couldn't avoid the meeting, and as I was pondering how to proceed, Susan suddenly blurted out, "Michael, I might be out of line, but I really don't want you to be set up on any dates." Huh? I would have never dreamt of hearing such words from Susan. I was taken aback, but she had even more shocking news to share. "Michael, since high school, you've been someone special to me. When I heard your pen name, I immediately realized you were the same boy who praised the magazine I made. Oh, the one with the camellia on the cover. Of course, I remember." Hearing Susan's words brought back memories from 15 years ago. Back when I was in junior high, I visited a cultural fair at my dream high school and headed straight for the literature club's booth. The club's magazine was of such high quality that I couldn't believe it was made by high school students. It had a beautiful brown cover with a black camellia drawing, giving it an air of classic literature. On the back cover, the designer's name was written as Camellia. As I was about to purchase the magazine, a nerdy-looking girl with long black hair and glasses sat at the counter. And on her chest, she wore a badge with the name Camellia. Recalling that memory, I looked deeply into Susan's eyes. In that moment, the image of the literature club girl and Susan before me began to merge. Although she wasn't wearing glasses anymore, and her appearance had changed considerably, I could still catch glimpses of the young girl in Susan. Back then, when you were buying the club magazine, you complimented it, saying, "This is a fantastic magazine." Even though I was in the literature club, I had no real talent in writing, so I mainly focused on the design of posters and magazines. Hearing your words at the time, I felt a mix of emotions. But then, you said, "If you can produce such a wonderful magazine, that's amazing." The moment I saw this cover, I just knew I had to have it. Hearing that, for the first time, I felt like someone truly recognized and appreciated me. Even if I didn't have the gift of writing, it gave me hope that I could still contribute in other ways. Susan. The words I said to Susan 15 years ago were genuine. Even if an article is well written, without that something that catches the reader's attention, they might never discover it. In that sense, I deeply felt Susan was a crucial bridge between the work and its readers. It felt miraculous to be working with her now, and my heart swelled with emotion. Tears glistening in her eyes, Susan spoke again. "After I graduated, my younger sister still attended the school, so I asked her to buy me the Literature Club's magazine during the cultural fair. In it, I was captivated by the work of a student with the pen name Emerald Wanderer. My sister, who wasn't involved in the club, didn't know who that was. So the next year, I went to the cultural fair myself. And there I found a boy with the name Emerald Wanderer. I was shocked to find out he was the same boy who comforted me a few years back. I was thrilled that he had joined the same high school and literature club. I wanted to approach him, but saw he was surrounded by friends and looked busy, so I couldn't. The next year, I looked for another chance to meet him during the cultural fair, but I couldn't find him. I did learn his real name was Michael from another club member, but until I heard your pen name for this series, I hadn't realized that young boy was you. After all, you've grown so much taller and slender since high school. I see. That was why Susan acted differently when she learned my pen name. It's no wonder she didn't notice, given the tremendous change I had in college where I grew 4 inches taller and lost 22 pounds at the same time. Then, Susan, with her cheeks flushed, looked at me with determination. I've always been passive in love, but when I heard you were going for the matchmaking date, Michael, I thought I couldn't let things stay that way. I like you, Michael. Please, stay by my side. I want to keep reading your work forever. I never thought the usually cool Susan would approach me this assertively. I too honestly expressed my feelings. I like you too, Susan. Ever since I met you, you've been special to me, and just being by your side makes me happy. Michael, you've always been a pillar of strength for me. Having you accept me this way makes me so happy. But it's kind of embarrassing, because today, unlike before, I spilled my true feelings. It feels weird. Saying this, Susan blushed, her white cheeks as red as a camellia flower. I felt bad for feeling this, but seeing her like that was refreshing. She's incredibly cute. The contrast of her current and previous image left me in awe, and I couldn't take my eyes off her. From then on, Susan and I officially started dating. Thanks to her, my column was going really well, and my pay had also increased. 3 years has passed after I started working at the company. Now that I finally sorted my work and life, I decided to propose to Susan. Seeing the camellia-inspired design of the engagement ring I chose, Susan laughed amusedly. What a unique design. Where do you find it? Yeah. When I saw a magazine featuring a camellia design, I thought it was such a beautiful flower. It left me with an unforgettable impression, and I've always wanted to immortalize it. Susan has always been and still is the woman I look up to, and there are still many times when I feel I can't match up to her. In a way, she'll always be out of my league. But that's why I cherish her even more and want to become a man worthy of her. I channel that desire into motivation for my writing. I personally think this kind of love is perfectly fine. So, after 2 years of dating, Susan and I got married, and we still work hand in hand today. The color of the flower I saw that day hasn't faded, and if anything, my affection for Susan only grows day by day.